Welcome to PNRShow, Season 4, Episode 23. Bring your own beer.
I'd rather have lager than rye. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than rye.
Yankees win! Yankees win! That's right, baby. Welcome to the Pioneer No Return Show. Yankees up 3-2 in the ALCS. That's right. All you people in Houston were telling me I was crazy. Yankees come back. That's right. But you didn't come here for that. Or maybe you did and you just want to drink a beer and toast to the Yankees' victory. Either way, you walked in on what could be the greatest spectacular ever televised or podcasted. That's right. It's the Pint of No Return Show, your beer and bros podcast. I hate when I say that. It really bothers me. I don't.
For the rest of us.
I don't like it any more than you do. It just comes out. I'm looking for alliteration, and right now Keith's gut. So
yeah. Hi, let me tip my camera back because my camera's got a mind of its own.
I mean, this could be a very interesting podcast if you're watching on video because Keith's camera is on a stick, so to speak, and it's supposed to track with him. And it, as with many things, it has a mind of its own. So at any given moment, we could be seeing a lot more of Keith than we want to.
This is a beer cam, so it's just going to track the beer tonight, apparently.
So we want to thank, of course, the Poxy Boggards, a Renaissance Festival type bawdy singing group out of California for the use of their music, especially Stu Venable. Haven't thanked them in a while, so we want to do that. You can find their stuff on iTunes or at poxyboggards.com. We are now live on Alpha Geek Radio, Channel 3. Hello, Alpha Geek. You can find us, if you want to check out the website, it's tunein.alphageekradio.com. Our website is the PNRShow.com. Email us your questions, comments, feedback at pnrshow@gmail.com. And then we have the Twitters. Jeremy is at Jeremy Brooks. Keith is at Wolfman K. I am at Reb Rob REB. And our missing man tonight, Gary, is at Always Breaking. Gary is globetrotting, is he not?
Yeah, he's in Slovakia.
Ooh.
Enjoying some lovely Slovakian beers.
Yes, and it's the middle of the night. We had demanded that he make an appearance, but it was a firm no.
Pansy.
It was a firm no. So, do we have any feedback this week?
I don't know.
We do not.
Sad Trombone says no.
Yeah, I spent the whole pre-show adjusting my camera. So
all right. This is a BYOB show. We do that occasionally when one of us is absent. We each bring our own beers to the table for the delight or disgust of our fellow podcasters. So, gentlemen, what have you for tonight's Bring Your Own Beer show?
I have a Port Brewing Hop 15 Ale, which I picked up because it was in a big bottle and because it's an IPA. And then I got home and I was looking at the ABV. It's a 10%er. So
hello.
Hey,
this
strap
is gonna be
in.
Fun. Good pick.
You've got to go the whole beer for the whole show.
Oh, that's not a problem.
Keith, what is your beer of choice?
Well, I don't have a 10%er, so I brought two beers.
There you go.
So I have got, first up is going to be Long Trail's Limbo IPA, which is it's brewed with new varieties coming out of hops coming out of Australia and the Pacific Northwest.
Australian hops.
Australian hops.
And
then my second beer is Harpoon Brewing's Flannel Friday, which is a hoppy red.
Only Wednesday.
Yep. I'll be advancing to Friday shortly.
We have done Harpoon on the show before.
We have. It's a lovely brewery.
Yeah. For my beer, I chose a very, very, very local brewery. In fact, it's only about 5 miles away. Southern Star, which we've enjoyed on the show before. We had their blonde bombshell, or bombshell blonde, I should say. And I'm doing the Oktoberfest, which is a German-style fist beer.
Appropriate.
I've had it before, and I've enjoyed it a lot, but always nice to feature the local brewery. So, gentlemen, are you ready to crack these open? I'll be pouring mine into the Southern Star official Oktoberfest Stein that we got this past week ago.
Oh, cool. Always like swag.
Yeah, I don't. The Steins they have this year aren't as good as the ones last year, but that's all right. All right. This is going to be very similar to, well, somewhat similar to the Shiner Bock that we've had in the past. A little, not as quite as dark, but kind of that smoky roasted flavor that I look so much forward to. Gentlemen, are you ready?
I am ready.
Then, as they say, and as we say on the show, Prost. That's right. It's to the pint. Forgot to cue Keith of the music.
That's okay. I think we should have beer drinking music all the time.
Yeah. In Slovakia, Gary could have been saying Prost earlier this evening.
Oh, is he in Slovakia or is he in Slovenia?
He's in Slovenia.
Oh, you said Slovakia earlier.
I said Slovenia.
I think you said Slovakia.
You said the Slovakia.
I said Slovenia.
No, you said Slovakia.
And if he did say Slovakia, he's going to edit it out.
No, there's one thing that is not worth me doing, and that's video editing. So it is what it is. Tell me in the comments if you think I said Slovakia or Slovenia.
Now I'm confused. Where's Gary?
He's over there.
He's with the vampires in
He's
Transylvania.
on the dark side.
Transylvania?
Pennsyltucky.
Okay. Gentlemen, first impressions. How is that harpoony treating you?
I'm not having that yet.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
The Long Trail.
The Long Trail.
The Limbo IPA. I've been working on a 6-pack of this all week, and this is a very odd IPA. I almost want to send it to you guys because I'm curious what you guys think. This is one of the few IPAs my wife can tolerate, although she doesn't really like it still. But so I'm thinking Rob might enjoy it.
Oh,
the hops are very different and not so bitter. That they are new varieties. So I saw Pacific Northwest and went, great, I love Pacific Northwest hops, but these are not them. These are other things. Bits of tree branch and twigs and stuff that they brewed with this. So it's a little different. It's got a definite hop flavor, but not a bitter hop flavor, almost kind of sweet. And the aftertaste is not a menthol flavor, but it reminds me of menthol. Ooh. It has almost a all too airy kind of finish that almost leaves your throat so clean. So, but it's not menthol. It just has the same impression that menthol leaves. So I don't know how to describe this beer. It's interesting. It's definitely drinkable. I've been enjoying it in quotes this week, and I am now enjoying it on the show, and I'll definitely finish it. But it's a different kind of IPA.
Menthol.
If you want a different kind of IPA, yeah, it's not menthol. It just has the impression of menthol.
It's like licking an ashtray. Oh
no!
All right,
no more like a menthol eucalyptus cough drop.
Try to say that.
Think that.
Can you say that again? Because
menthol eucalyptus cough drop.
Perfect.
So not menthol tobacco.
All right, Jeremy. What remind us again of what your beer is and what your first impressions are?
This is Port Brewing's Hop 15 Ale. It's good. It's got the maltiness that you'd expect in a big double IPA, but not overly sweet. And the bitterness balances it nicely. It's a bitter finish, but not too bitter up front. So far I'm enjoying it. We'll see how it lasts over 22 ounces. But first impressions are positive.
22 Indeed. Ounces.
All right. The Oktoberfest is delightful. Just got a nice slight caramel finish to it, like that roasted flavor, as I was mentioning before. It's just so neat and clean going down, and it's got a little heartiness to it. Very, very typical of like a German Oktoberfest beer, and it is fantastic. My wife, when we go to the brewery every couple of weeks or so, like for trivia night or over the weekend, just to hang out. It's got a great, cool kind of beer fest hall upstairs. And the popular drink right now is to combine the Oktoberfest beer with half of that with a half of a pint of their Blood Belt IPA, which is a blood orange IPA that my wife really likes, and they combine them together. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, they call it the Hunt for Red October. So it's like their big. That's not a joke. That's literally what they call it. So I just enjoyed the Oktoberfest myself, but she loves that Blood Belt IPA. I might, for my shipment, when I get around to shipping you guys something, I think it's my turn. It's been past my turn. I will include that in the shipment because I think you guys probably would like it. So, but this is really, really good.
Neat.
Yeah, this is really good. All right, we're going to revisit these beers a little bit later on in the show, and Keith will crack open his second at some point if he's not almost already there. But in the meantime, we've got some topics coming your way in a segment that we call Pint Taken. There's no rhyme or reason to that at all. So
was there supposed to be?
Yeah. So there's lots of kind of serious topics out there in the news that are happening. It just seems like it's exponential. Like then every time you turn around, something bad or worse is happening in the news. Maybe it's just a reflection of our age or the times that we live in. We don't usually cover that on the show. We like to keep it light, but we did have a segment where the guys allowed me to kind of give my perspective on Hurricane Harvey. So I thought I'd like to do the same, even though Gary's not here, but Jeremy certainly can talk about it. How things are going with the fires in California. It's literally, I mean, not on Gary's back doorstep, but all around him in many ways. So just give us an update and tell us your experiences and what's going on. Jeremy?
Well, from where we live, we're about 30 miles from the Santa Rosa fire, which is not all that far when you consider it started, what was that, last Sunday, a week from Sunday?
And that's one of the big ones, too.
10 days ago. It's one of the bigger ones, yeah. And it started, from what I've read, Sunday night, late Sunday night. And I've read some firsthand reports of people that lived 30 miles away from where the fire started. They were woken up in the middle of the night to evacuate. So in 3 or 4 hours, that fire moved 30 miles.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of how fast it spread. Lots, and you've probably all heard, thousands of structures destroyed. I think it's 5,000 structures now and 41 people confirmed dead.
Hundreds missing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 60 missing now.
Okay.
But it's just
fix your camera. It's just awkward.
it's so.
It's just.
Oh man,
I mean,
we gotta put that up on the screen.
Trying to.
Wow, that's awesome.
There we go. We'll go back to left hand.
Something about that looks like a face.
And now back to our correspondent Jeremy Brooks in the field.
So as I was saying, there's yeah, it's just awful seeing the pictures. It's amazing how much has been destroyed. And when you think of a wildfire, you think out in the woods, and it burns some structures. But these were really close to relatively large cities.
Yeah. And
they spread so fast, and the winds were so strong. Looking at the pictures, it's just amazing. And they're starting to get them under control. But it's going to be years before things are anywhere back to normal in these communities.
Sure. I mean, we've heard from Jeremy posting in our chat room that I guess his in-laws, right, needed to be evacuated.
Gary's
in-laws needed to be evacuated.
And in-laws and parents.
Yes, in-laws. Thank you, in-laws and parents. And I believe that his in-laws have gotten back now, and their home was not damaged.
other way around.
Other way around. Yeah.
His parents got
His
home.
in-laws had a complete loss.
Oh man.
And his in-laws have already purchased a new home.
Wow.
So, and I believe there was a cousin involved on that same property that also lost.
I think that that house was
everything.
destroyed, and the other one,
the
other one on the property was
and
not.
a dog went
Yeah.
missing, right?
I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah, and it's just
Horrible. And it's decimated the Napa Valley region. I think I heard the figure being thrown out of 40% of the vineyards in Napa Valley were destroyed.
Yeah.
I haven't read that, but it definitely is going to have an impact.
That's just horrible. Did they ever? I mean, I guess it's too soon, or they're still so worried about handling the fires that they don't necessarily know a cause, or it's just this time of year is prone to fires, or do they suspect arson or anything like that?
I haven't read any definitive. There's been speculation about down power lines, but I haven't read anything specific. And I think that you hit on it when you said they're trying to control the fires now.
Yeah.
First step is to get the fires under control, and then they'll figure out what happened.
Okay. Yeah, it's horrible. It's really I mean, that obviously goes without saying. So, but we're glad you are okay, and Gary's okay. It's horrible for his in-laws. That really stinks, but hopefully they'll be able to get things back together. So, well, thanks for that update, and hopefully they get those things under control soon. All right, so in our chat room this week, I think it was actually yesterday, one of you posted kind of a follow-up article to something we talked about on the show a few episodes ago. Amazon is looking for their next headquarters.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I posted that this morning actually because
so Amazon
found out business.
Yeah, Moody's is So I'm gonna get to that, but let me just recap.
Business and okay, I'm lagging something fierce right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're lagging very badly.
Yes. Business Insider basically posted a list based on Amazon's criteria. So it's not something Amazon has leaked.
No.
It was cities that met Amazon's criteria. So it was like their Business Insider's top 10 projections of where Amazon could go. What was interesting was Rochester, New York, my hometown, where I'm lagging from right now, made that list, which we've talked about it here in Rochester, but nobody thought it was serious until all of a sudden it showed up on this list.
So just to recap and just kind of bring them back around, Amazon's looking for the second headquarters up to, they say, 50,000 jobs in one city. We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago and kind of threw out some cities that we thought would be good fits and wouldn't be good fits. Actually, the Daily News reported yesterday that it was day 2 of 4 days in which cities can submit proposals that they're calling now HQ2. Chicago and Newark have already made their bids, and what was it that the Windy City has gotten some picked up some steam. But so Moody's looked, as Keith mentioned, Moody's looked at the criteria for the top cities, and they're sorry, I'm just pulling that article back up. So let me give you the rundown of, according to their stats or their criteria, what the top 10 cities are. First is Salt Lake City, which has a burgeoning.
Now,
Go ahead.
Interestingly enough, I think the original criteria was to get it off the West Coast. So it's interesting that there's Western cities included in this.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I should have given you
I
the
thought
factors.
one of the original ideas was to.
I should have, yeah, our lag is horrible. I should have given you the factors first. The Moody's looked at 5 factors that were important to Amazon: the business environment, the human capital, the availability of qualified people to employ, the cost of building, the quality of life in that community, and transportation. It gave assigned a number to each city and weighted each factor to come up with the 10. Geography was considered, but not factored into the rankings.
Which I find odd, because I think that's one of the major points, was to get like an East Coast headquarters and a West Coast headquarters.
Yeah, maybe. So as I said, number 10 is Salt Lake City. Low business costs, young talent pool. Boston is number 9, which is inexplicable to me, other than they have big time tech schools like MIT, Harvard, that kind of thing. But that's just a horrible city to build anything. When you think about taxes and transportation, all that kind of stuff. Portland, Oregon, number 8. I mean, you're talking about, building on their own doorstep. It's like building a summer home around this corner.
Yeah.
That seems really unlikely.
Yeah, that's so close to where they already are. That seems to defeat the purpose.
Yeah. Their reasoning was interesting, which is one of the reasons why I brought this article in tonight. Portland has an arguably higher than average quality of life. There are low crime rates, more arts theaters, and a hub of microbreweries. Factoring into this.
That is important.
With biker-friendly streets. Cheaper than the Bay Area. That does not say much, because San Francisco is one of the most expensive places in the world.
No, that doesn't say much at all.
Yeah. Number 7 on the list is Miami. That's not a bad choice, because as the article says, it is a high distribution center, international and national freight. A lot of it comes out of Miami. So that's not a bad one. New York City, New Jersey, White Plains, New York. Can I just say no? I mean, they have almost everything else. Can we go somewhere else? Although they do have a lot of tech schools and there's a big transportation infrastructure, of course. Number 5, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is an interesting choice. I think we mentioned that too on the last time we talked, that Pittsburgh would be a good choice. Big time revival in that city. Number 4 on the list, Rochester, New York. Keith and my hometown area. I think I would pull for Rochester, if only because that region has been so decimated in terms of employment over year. It's like a hollow shell. I mean, Amazon could literally do whatever it wanted and have carte blanche.
I'm pretty sure they could move into Kodak Park and just go.
Oh, sure. It would instantly become the number 1 employer in the city.
It would actually might take a little time, because U of R is so huge right now.
Well, I mean, once they got to, if they say 50,000 employees, that would be the biggest, right?
No.
Really?
No, U of R is already bigger than that.
More than 50,000? Yeah. Wow, okay. Yeah. So, we'll pull for Rochester on the side. Philadelphia. The downsides are inefficient tax structure and significant public sector pension problems. But the upsides outweigh the downsides. A boom is underway in Philadelphia. Well, Number 2, Atlanta, another high transportation hub. Atlanta is the busiest airport in the world, and is set up to be a really good technological and transportational infrastructure. And finally, nearby down the street from me, Austin, Texas. High quality of life. It's kind of the Silicon Hills of Texas. It's very kind of arts friendly, business friendly. It's the capital of Texas. They'd get a lot of tax breaks. So there are your top 10. Let's leave Rochester aside for a second, Keith. Jeremy and Keith, let me ask you, of those 10, what, let's say 3, would you give the inside edge to?
I think they're going to...
But not including Rochester.
Yeah, let's leave Rochester for a second.
Oh, that was definitely one of the top. Okay.
Well, how about you, Jeremy? You can consider Rochester. Keith and I will save that for the end.
I don't have the Rochester prejudice.
Exactly. What 3 would you go?
So I think they're going to go with something geographically distant, and so I think they would consider Rochester. I think they would consider Austin, and The third one, I don't think it's going to be Miami or Atlanta. I think it's more likely to be Pittsburgh or Boston, and I'm going to say Boston just because of the talent pool.
Okay.
So Boston, Rochester, and Austin.
Okay. Keith, what would your top 3 be?
I'm gonna definitely. The original articles I read on this definitely seemed to indicate that they wanted geographical distance from what they want now. So I'm gonna pick all stuff on this coast. And if I got to take Rochester out of the mix, I think Miami becomes the first choice really quickly. And not because of the shipping, easy access to shipping, because I think the world headquarters isn't going to have anything to do with shipping. I think it's all going to be office work type jobs and planning and coordinating and stuff like that. But that said, Miami is a huge metropolitan area, large talent pool to pull from, built-in transportation and stuff there, and it's just gorgeous. So why not go to Miami? After that, I think Pittsburgh's a real interesting choice. I'm not sure it would go there, but boy, would it be a boon for that city. And again, a lot of the infrastructure is already there. And then I guess the third one, I'm going to say Boston, but it's definitely not going to be in Boston. It's going to be around Boston. So it's going to be, if they did that, they would do something in like Worcester or Salem or something like that. That's really kind of an outside distant suburb of Boston where they can pull from the Boston talent pool, but there's, God, the city of Boston's a mess, and they would do well to stay clear out of that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in Boston, but it would be close enough that they would say, "Hey, our Boston office."
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, my inside track would go to. I agree with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is a good choice. Again, it's a city that's just booming. We have a lot of our people, our second biggest population of the company that I work for has offices in Pittsburgh. And, you know, everybody that I talk to there just says the city is so alive and it's so hip right now. And it's just really been revitalized that makes sense as a logical fit. My second choice would be, I do think Boston would be considered. I hate the fact that it is, but I think that there's a romanticism about Boston that people have that you know, and it is so close to MIT and Harvard and all that kind of stuff that it would be able to have a great talent pool to choose from. And then my third pick, I think, and probably of the three, my most likely pick, I would pick Atlanta.
Oh.
Because
Atlanta's the same as New York to me.
Well,
it's got everything already. It's so big and sprawling.
Well, yeah, but I think the transportation availability there, I'm not that New York doesn't have that, but that it's much less. I think it would cost them much less to do it. But now that we've said that, so now we've given it our three. Keith, would you put Rochester ahead of those three?
I think the East Coast, the real competition to Rochester, based on what I read in the Business Insider article, is Pittsburgh and Miami.
Yeah.
And if you're going towards a place that already doesn't have a huge established metro area, then you're into Pittsburgh, which is kind of on the fringe of the East Coast metro thing, and you're into Rochester. So I think those are the real big two, and they're puts them both of them on the East Coast, which I think is what they want.
Okay.
What I don't have a lot of information on is Pittsburgh's like university pools and stuff, and I think University of Rochester and Rochester Institute of Technology have both just come so far in the last 10 years that I think it's a good technology center.
Oh yeah.
And if you are looking for a bunch of beer bars, Rochester has so many ridiculous little little breweries popping up all over the place. We can definitely support that Portland-like attitude right here. In fact, there's a couple news of a couple closing that probably wouldn't close if there was an Amazon coming in.
Yeah.
So,
So you would put. So you would, if you had to do a top two, you'd say Pittsburgh and Rochester.
yeah. I think Rochester is a better choice than Boston or Miami.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh's the other really interesting choice on the East Coast.
I would agree with you, Keith. I think put. Maybe it's a bias. I would probably is a bias. I would put Rochester as the number one to get it, and the reason I would do that, not only would be because of the scientific availability of employees and a talent pool that Keith was mentioning, but if you're Amazon, and I said this earlier, you could go into Rochester and literally have a blank canvas.
Yeah.
You could do, and I'm not kidding. When I say, Keith can attest to it because I haven't been back for a long time, but I know what's been happening there. Keith can attest that city has been so decimated by layoffs from Xerox and Kodak and Bausch and Lomb, and it's just been hit so hard. And there's so much infrastructure there already that Amazon could come in on a freaking white horse and do whatever it wanted to do and be the king, not only of Rochester, but of Western New York, and, just own that city. Just own it, basically.
So how would the city feel about that when suddenly
they'd love it.
Yes, the city would, meaning the government of the city. What about the people who all of a sudden, here's all these tech people coming in and gentrifying Rochester?
What? Well, you answer that, Keith, because you're on the ground there. So
it would be an interesting situation. I mean, if they did something like Kodak's main facility for years and years and years is called Kodak Park, and it's on the north side of Rochester, and it's more or less empty now. If they went in and took that space over, I think it would be a huge boon, and they certainly could do a lot in that space. However, they could also do something downtown and take over like the old Bausch and Lomb Tower or something like that too, and really start moving things around that way as well, or do both, because like again, 50,000 people, 50,000 jobs is a lot. So, but it definitely could fill both situations. But as far as the gentrification, it's already here. In a large part, we have definite inner city pockets where crime is through the roof, and problems with poverty and such happen. I think that can only get better with a major player like Amazon coming in and offering more jobs, even for untrained people, because it's going to put jobs in across the board, not just tech jobs. It's going to also need low-level stuff, and it's going to provide training for a lot of those people to get better positions in middle management and possibly tech positions and stuff like that too.
But with that opportunity, with Amazon coming in, one of the things we haven't mentioned, Keith, I think, sort of hit it on it when he was talking about it's not just high-tech jobs, but support jobs that Amazon would need. If Amazon came in anywhere, it's not just here are 50,000 jobs and here we're hiring, but you're talking about a whole bunch of either subsidiary or peripheral companies that will also come to Rochester to kind of feed off the Amazon team and support staff, and a lot of companies, not just Amazon, will start hiring.
Yeah, well, and it's wherever you put them, then you've got a whole slew of restaurants and just entertainment and service industries that's going to come with it.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of that would
totally revitalize that city.
Yeah, I think so. Rochester's in a terrible place as it is now for a lot of that stuff. At least the inner city is. The suburbs of Rochester are doing just fine, but the inner city and some of the west side there's some deep poverty there that just can't be addressed by what's going on here now. And somebody like Amazon coming in can definitely do that. Also, a correction to what I said before. University of Rochester is not 50,000 employees. It's about 30. So it's close. It's on its way, but that's definitely it's definitely our #1 employer in the region at about 30,000 employees.
Well, there you go. So I was right.
Yep, you were. It wasn't quite 50.
All right. So yeah. So of course, being from there, Keith and I are absolutely pulling for Amazon to come to Rochester. But whoever does get it, it'll be a huge boom to that area. So we'll follow that story. We'll keep going on it. Before we go to our pick segments, gentlemen, any new impressions on your beer? Keith, have you started your second one?
I have, and this is a beer I've had before, and I have it. I went back for a second 6-pack. This is a seasonal by Harpoon. Their Flannel Friday is a red ale, malty red ale that they put a little more than normal hops in. So it's kind of somewhere between a red and an IPA. And I think they just nailed it. As far as fall seasonals go, this is so much better than pumpkin. Don't buy pumpkin ale. Go get some Flannel Friday. There we go. I'll find the camera here.
Notice we have else is better than pumpkin? One pumpkin ale on the show this month.
Bite me, pumpkin ales. This is what a fall seasonal should be. It's just some great hops and a nice rich malty amber, and the combination is just crisp and easy to drink. And this beer is fantastic. No questions asked.
If you've ever eaten any raw pumpkin, you know that it's like a squash. It has literally almost no taste to it at all. So the whole pumpkin ale thing, when you're saying, oh, we're drinking a pumpkin ale, you're drinking the spices that typically go along with a pumpkin.
Yep.
Well, in a lot of cases, yes. Although I will say, if I have to drink a pumpkin ale, I do like Southern Tier's Pumpking. Pumpking, and that one is made with over 2 tons of actual pumpkin every year. They throw into that thing. So that one actually does taste most like pumpkin pie because it has the actual pumpkin with the spices.
But that's not pumpkin. I mean, you're not tasting pumpkin. When you taste pumpkin pie, you're not tasting.
Well, I tell you that the difference between pumpkin pie and pumpkin spice is huge, because pumpkin spice without the pie is terrible.
True, but pumpkin spice in a pumpkin pie, you not only have the spice, you have the nutmeg, you have all kinds of little bits and bobs that you put in to pumpkin pie, because by itself, pumpkin and sugar would be horrible. So that's our PSA for today about don't.
And neither Rob or I enjoy a pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. So just so you know,
I don't enjoy. I enjoy multiple.
Oh, you do? You're a pumpkin pie eater?
I love pumpkin pie.
Oh, I can't stand it.
Oh, so good.
I can't stand it.
I don't like mincemeat pie.
My mother-in-law's so nice to make me a cherry pie
right there.
every Thanksgiving, just because I do not like pumpkin.
Yeah.
Pumpkin is nasty.
All right, Jeremy, any intermediary impressions that you want to share of your beer that you haven't thought of yet?
It's getting better as it warms up. It's still on the cool side, but the flavors are coming out a little bit more. I'm enjoying this. It's a good beer.
Yeah, the Oktoberfest is just very, very delightful. And that's all I need to say about that right now. We're going into our pick segments. It's time for Half Pints. Look, Keith's getting his iPad ready. This is actually, Keith, this might be a good idea, because I can see when you're ready and when you have the finger ready to do this. So we may need to go with this from now on. So it's time now for our pick segments of the week. It's the Half Pint segments coming to you right now. See, that's beautiful. That is perfect.
Yeah, my lag has gone away too, which helps a ton.
Yes, absolutely.
If Amazon moves to Rochester, maybe they could hire Keith as a camera QA person.
I don't think that they could. I don't think that they would.
Keith, we need you to test this camera. See if it will track your face.
All right, so our picks this week, starting with Jeremy, and since we don't have Gary, feel free to do a couple if you like. Jeremy, what are your picks?
Oh, I only have one.
That's all right.
So my pick is an app called Really Bad Chess.
Oh, I like the sounds of it already.
Yes, me too.
So if you are a chess player, if you know how to play chess, you will love this game probably. It starts out with it's chess. It's the rules of chess, but the pieces are not the pieces you expect. So instead of 2 bishops and a queen, maybe you have 3 queens and no bishops. And the AI will adjust your starting pieces according to how good you're playing.
No.
So if you start winning, it will give you less strong pieces to start with, and maybe it gets stronger pieces.
So if you have a board full of queens, you know you suck.
You know you suck.
That would be my board.
It really changes the game completely, because when it starts,
Sure.
you expect to make 1 or 2 starting moves, and there's a few things. The game progresses in a slightly predictable way the first few moves, but all of a sudden you have the pawn that you're expecting to move is a knight, so your game is completely shifted.
So the players or the pieces change mid-game?
No, but I'm saying that
okay.
Like you would expect to, queen's pawn move 2 spaces, or king's pawn 2 spaces, a typical opening move, but maybe that pawn doesn't exist because they're knights.
Got it.
So it's really fun.
So I love board games, and I love the idea of chess. I have several chess sets, but I am so freaking bad at chess. I cannot, for the life of me, see 15 moves ahead.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
Yeah. So maybe this is finally, and as I'm loading the app, it says this is the chess game you've been waiting for.
Well, as a fellow bad chess player, Rob, I would be curious to see what your review is on it.
Yeah.
So do let us know in chat this week.
I will. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Keith, what is or are your pick or picks for the week?
Well, I have one prepared that I was going to go with, and it's actually a very, very, very old pick. In fact, it may go back to the days of Happy Time Magic Hour when I made this pick originally, because it's a game I've had on my iPad since my iPad 2 or iPad 1. I can't remember what my first iPad was, but since my first iPad. And it's just kind of one of those games that I don't play for a long time, and then someone will remind me of it, and I start playing it again. And this time, the one who reminded me of it was Charlie, my 5-year-old, who just wanted to start playing it. And we've been having a ball this week playing this game. And it's called OLO. OLO is the game. And it is a game designed to be played with another person right in front of you, like with the iPad in between you. And what it is you get discs that you are trying to land on the other person's side. But of course, there's physics involved, and they can hit your discs back to your side if they, and if you send one of your discs in all the way to their end zone, they get to keep it. If it goes all the way to your end zone, you get to keep it, and such like that. And you try to get as many of your discs on their side before the game ends, before everybody's out of discs. So very simple game to play. A ton of actual strategy and luck involved. You can play it almost like pool, or you can play it like my daughter and just wing stuff around and hope for the best. And it is amazing fun in either way. And I like to play it. My wife and I like to play it. My daughters and I like to play it. I've brought it to a bar before, dropped my iPad in front of people, and while we're having a beer, we're just flinging these discs back and forth, playing a friendly game of OLO. It's a fantastic game. I believe it costs money. I think it's $2 or $3, and then you can also buy other themes for it, which do nothing but change the colors and the sound effects, but they're fun too. And I have bought all the themes over the years because I love the developer, and I really want them to keep it alive and active. And they have. They've updated it for every version of iOS so far. There is also an online play where you can play against a virtual opponent, someone else playing it. Although I have found that there's a lot of lag in that in the past, and I haven't tried it again recently. So your mileage may vary on playing online. But what I love to do is play it with another person in front of you, and that's so very different for what we use our devices for these days. To put it down in front of another person at a bar and have a beer while doing this is just so much fun, I think.
I remember this. I'm looking it up. I remember your pick.
Yeah.
I never played it, so I need to go find my iPad and get this thing installed.
Yeah, it's definitely, you want the biggest screen you can get. So, if you have an iPad Pro, beautiful game on an iPad Pro. Definitely a full-size iPad is fine. I've played it on my daughter's Mini as well, and it works okay. But I think the bigger the better, and just sit across the table or across the couch from somebody with it and play this game. It is so much fun to interact with both your electronic device and a real live person opposite you. It's a great way. I wish there were more games like that on the iPad.
I really like the idea of a game you can play with somebody else, so that your device becomes a social thing, not just something to isolate you.
Exactly, and that's what this is.
Not that I have anything against isolation.
No, there are certain times when you want to be playing something completely alone, depending on the environment you're in. But I've gone to a bar with my friend Eric or my friend Ben, and I just dropped this on the table, and and we just it's nothing. We'll be having a conversation. We'll be enjoying some beers, and we'll be playing Olos all at the same time. And it's just great way to spend a few hours.
Excellent. All right. My pick for the week. I have a few. So we got some time. I just picked up Destiny 2. Keith and I have logged a lot of hours on the original Destiny on the Xbox. And I just picked it up for the Xbox One, although it is available on all platforms. If you're not familiar with Destiny, it's a first-person shooter. To say that it's in the style of Halo may do it a bit of injustice, but it gives you the impression of what it kind of is about. But the story is so engrossing. Basically, it takes place in a distant future where a large, gigantic orb came out of nowhere to protect the Earth, and it resurrected some of their soldiers to become guardians to protect from alien invasion, and gave them these ghosts, these little tiny AIs that bip and bob around their heads to give them help and assistance. So the first one was pretty light on story. It didn't have much of a campaign, but where it excelled was in its multiplayer. It would offer you different missions and things where you could jump in and jump out, and friends could jump in and help you and then leave. And it was so wide and so expansive and so beautiful. And for Destiny 2, they've only expanded on that now with a full-blown campaign mode, which is fully cooperative. People can jump in and jump out as you're completing your part of the campaign. They may show up doing that same part of the campaign and fight alongside of you, and the AI or the enemies adjust to however many people are there. You can also go on multiplayer missions or skirmish one against the other. And the worlds that they have are so vibrant and so cool. And the weapons and the different way you can outfit your character and the powers that they have is so awesome. I just logged in a couple of hours yesterday. I can't wait to get back to it. So Destiny 2 is amazing.
Yeah, I've read a lot about this. I haven't bit the bullet on it. What's really interesting to me is its tie-in with Blizzard. So if you play on the PC and you're used to the Blizzard launcher, it's actually in there with Hearthstone and Diablo and all their stuff. So it's probably going to be something that lands on my PC at some point. But the first game on the Xbox was both so great and so terrible at the same time. It's so lacked in plot and depth, but it showed you so much potential. So it looks like Destiny 2 is delivering on that potential, and everybody who's reviewing it is loving it. And
if you needed another reason to go and get it, one of the main characters in the story, like one of your buddies, voiced by Nathan Fillion. So I mean, that should help you out right there.
Right.
A lot of stars worked on this. Gina Torres, who was also in Firefly. A bunch of actors that you've undoubtedly heard or seen before and lend their voices to this. What's the only thing that's missing for me is a lot of people gave Peter Dinklage grief for his voicing of the Ghost. He was your
Yeah.
ghost in the first one. I actually
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought Dinklage was awesome in that too.
They actually replaced him midway through Destiny's run. They came out with a patch where they took his voice out because I guess so many people had complained about it, which I didn't understand. But he's not back, unfortunately. But still, a very, very cool game. So my second pick I want to recommend to you is a revisit of an author we've talked about extensively on the show before, Mr. Ernest Cline, who wrote Player One.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I had took a trip to Baton Rouge over the weekend to watch the LSU game. So on our drive home, we started listening to the audiobook version of Armada.
Yep.
And
I had
Armada,
that as my pick about 6 months ago, I think.
yeah. So Armada, okay. So yes, read by Will Wheaton. It tells the story of a kid in high school. If you've ever watched or seen Last Starfighter, it's a very similar story, at least starting out. I'm not very far through it, but
it's a good analogy.
Yeah. It's very cool. It got a lot of 80s throwback references and modern references to video gaming. So far, I'm digging the heck out of it. And I will say this for Will Wheaton. He can read a book. He's pretty good.
Yeah. No, he's definitely the author's choice for all his books, and he's great at it. Yeah. His audiobook reading is wonderful.
I think maybe it's because for at least for this, and maybe he reads other books great too. I don't know. But for Ernest Cline stuff, you can tell that it's just so much. He's so geeky, and it's so much content that it's just right in Will's wheelhouse. And you can tell he just loves the subject matter. Not the least of which is that he's a character in Ready Player One. But so Armada, I'm enjoying it so far. Can't wait to see where it goes. My last pick. I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show, but I've certainly seen it all over the place on TV and radio. And so my wife and I, brother and sister-in-law, finally pulled the trigger and got movie passes. Have you guys heard of Movie Pass?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's that thing where you basically pay a subscription to go and see as many movies as you want.
Yes.
Within within a month or whatever.
It is $9.95 a month.
Yeah.
And you may see one movie every day.
Yeah.
Any movie that you want. And at first we were concerned that, it was going to be only theaters that we couldn't find. And there are actually 2 theaters right in town, including one that's the dine-in theater with the plush seats. Doesn't cost us any more. We just show up with your movie pass. You put the app on it. You have to be within 100 yards of the theater that you're going to, so you can reserve your seat. You walk in, show your pass, boom, you're in. It registers that you've seen a movie that day, so you can't go and see another one. So the company, I'm assuming, makes its money because it has all of your data, just like Facebook or Twitter or anything else does these days. And it has my phone number, it has my email address, all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm sure it's selling that data or using that for demographics. That's why it's so cheap. But since everybody has that data anyway, why shouldn't I take advantage of it? And Movie Pass, we had to wait a long time to get our cards, a long time. We finally got an apology letter from the Movie Pass people that said since they lowered their threshold down to this $9.95 that a few months ago, their subscriptions rose by 4,300%.
Yeah. It used to be almost like $29 a month or something.
Which still, if you're a moviegoer, that's a bargain. But $9.95, hello.
Yeah.
So I can't recommend it enough. We've actually, I hadn't seen maybe 1 or 2 movies, and those were by myself earlier in the year. Since we've gotten the Movie Pass, we've seen 3 for us. So it's cheap, especially if you have a family with kids that you want to take to the movies as well. Now, you can only people 18 and over can have a Movie Pass. So you can't get them for your kids. And you can only get 1 per person because I think it's tied to your phone number.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So unfortunately, that's bad for folks that have a lot of kids or have kids at all. So, but still, Keith, with 2 girls, that cuts 50% off of his movie-going budget. So
What MoviePass pitched to the theaters was, hey, we're gonna if you give us this deal and give us a good rate on the movies so that we can sell this subscription deal, we'll fill up all those 1s and 2 seats that you always have empty with single people or couples that are going to see movies, which is a great idea. Except now that the price is so cheap, the movie theaters themselves are backlashing against them. So there's actually quite a bit of controversy over MoviePass right now, and whether or not it's going to last, because a lot of the theaters are pulling out and starting to offer their own competing service, yada yada yada. So it'll be interesting to see how, now that you're in it, Rob, someone I know. So that'd be interesting to see how your mileage goes along with this. MoviePass also did come out, I think, a little while ago and say this was a limited time offer, so expect that $9.95 to go back up at some point.
Yeah, which then maybe at that point we'll cancel. But for right now, we're gonna ride this wave.
Hell yeah, absolutely. If you got theaters in your area that are doing it, and you're such a movie buff, probably the biggest movie buff among my friends, be crazy not to do it. Crazy.
I gotta go see Blade Runner. I haven't seen Blade Runner yet.
Oh,
you saw it?
I want to see it. I want to see it. All the reviews, all my geeky friends have seen it, and all the reviews are, it's amazing.
Yeah, especially if you're a Blade Runner aficionado.
Gary gave it the lowest review I ever saw, which was in our chat. Which you guys can join us in our chat if you want. We're on Slack. Just ping one of us on our Twitter account. We'll get you the address and let you in. But yeah, he gave us the lowest review and said, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's worth seeing. He said it's worth seeing if you like the first one.
Old Stoic,
which was the lowest review I've seen out of any of my friends.
Stoic Gary.
Yeah, but to his credit though, I mean, he's dealing with a lot of shit this week. So I don't know, and including business trips to Europe. Right. So I'm not sure that Blade Runner was really high on his priority list.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
All right, so we got 5 minutes left in the hour. Let's give our beers the old review. Scale of 1 to 10, Keith.
All right, I got 2. So first up was the Limbo, that one with the menthol-ish impression on the finish. I may grab a 6-pack of this just so I can send it down, because I really want Jeremy and Gary and Rob to try this and tell me what they think. But I kind of give this a 3. It's interesting to have the different hops in the traditional IPA base, but I don't know if it necessarily was good. It certainly is not great. So I give this a 3 out of 5. Or are we out of 10? What are we doing these days? We keep changing it.
Still, no, we didn't. We haven't.
It's still 10, just like Rob said when he said
10. So
on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'll give it a 6 then.
Season 4, we've done almost 100 episodes in this format. It's always been 10.
So I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
We haven't done
okay. It's maybe better than average. It's not great.
We haven't done
6 out of 10.
However, 5 in 5 years.
Yes, but I still think it should be that. So this one though, Harpoon's Flannel Friday. I like Harpoon's IPA. I like Harpoon's wheats. I like everything that Harpoon does. This is my favorite beer that I've ever had from them. This is a 5 out of 5, as it were, in my scale. So I'll give it a 10. This is a great, easy drinking beer. It's not going to break the bank. It's about $10 a 6-pack here on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys see Harpoon on the West Coast or down south there, but if you do, look up this one. It is just a fantastic beer to have in the fridge. You're not afraid to give it to anybody because they won't like it, and it's just super easy to drink and crisp, and it has that great fall red amber beer kind of flavor that goes with it. Perfect beer for the fall.
Awesome. All right, Jeremy, your beer, please.
Port Brewing's Hop 15 gets 8 out of 10. It's really enjoyable. Super balanced beer. I really like the long finish of the flavor and the bitterness. You can sip it and just enjoy it. and sip it a little more. I've still got some of my 22 ounces left, and really enjoying it.
Slacker.
All right, my Southern Star Oktoberfest beer is delightful. It's crisp and hearty and very drinkable. It's got a great finish. It's just really hits the perfect spot for an October fall beer, and I'm loving it. So I will give this a 10 out of 10, or a 5 if you're Keith. So
I like a good 5.
It is absolutely perfect. All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we close out this episode of the Pint of No Return Show?
Drink more beer.
Steal my slogan. All right, then play the music, Keith. Hit it. There you go. No, one more time. Hit it again. Come on, finger.
Got it.
Longer than life. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life.
I think we're forgetting probably the most important thing that Rochester could offer Amazon, and that is garbage plates.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, Amazon, let us introduce the garbage plate to you, and you will try to ship them worldwide.
Yeah, you'll never go back. Yeah, you'll want to put that on the top of your Prime list.
They can just offer those free to Prime members.
So good. All right. Drink more beer.